The Walt Disney Company has always been known for their colorful characters, iconic films, and remarkable history. Even if you don't like Disney, you have to admit, they have impacted your childhood at least once. Whether that be watching Snow White wake up from the prince's kiss, seeing Cinderella scurry off before midnight strikes, witnessing Pinocchio become a real boy, or cheering on Hiro and Baimax as they fight evil. However, this family-friendly history can come with a price, for people can always note dark moments in Disney's history. Some have even written fiction about how they see Disney, and Creepypasta is no exception. For this list, we will be going over 10 creepypastas about the Walt Disney Company. Enjoy.
It's a place of universal brotherhood that draws millions of visitors a year from lands near and far. Walt Disney once said that Disneyland would be a place where children and adults could have fun together while enjoying some of the wonders of life.
Disneyland 1999. Disneyland 1999, or simplified as Disneyland, is a very short yet effective creepypasta about a family that takes a vacation to the famous amusement park. They got on the iconic It's a Small World attraction, but near the end of the lights shut off and everyone was forced to leave the attraction. The employees would not explain to anyone what happened or why the ride was shut down. Before they left the building, the mother of the family noticed that she had only room left in her camera, so she took random pictures, not even concerned as to where she was aiming. This is one of the pictures that she took.
Disney's Catacombs. A few mischievous boys break into Disneyland during the closed hours, just to take pictures and get some bragging rights. As you would expect, they were caught. But instead of being punished, they were taken down below to the Disney jail. While the boys were kinda curious to see what the catacombs were like, they were not expecting to be dragged down to hell. Down an expensive elevator and walking through a seemingly endless hallway to room 1901, they were left there for 2 hours and 25 minutes, being left alone. They decided to leave room 1901, trying to find the security guards that have left them there. On their way down the asylum-looking hallway, all the lights go out, and all of the doors in the corridor open. Disney mascots were walking out the doors, slowly walking towards the boys. It's a Small World came on the speakers, and the dolls from the ride with the same name appeared in the doorways as well. They finally escaped the catacombs, but their chase wasn't over yet, as more mascots, workers, and security guards were following them. They finally escaped the iconic park alive. Weeks later, one of the boys remembered that a certain code was used to get through the corridor. 121566. The room they're in was 1901, and the room next to it was 1205. 1205 1901, or December 5th, 1901, was the date that Walt Disney was born. And 1215 1966, or December 15th, 1966, was the day that he died.
Abandoned by Disney. Now this creepypasta is a classic. I'm sure some of you have heard of Treasure Island, what was meant to be a resort in Baker's Bay in the Bahamas. It was shut down by Disney, and instead tearing it down, they decided to simply abandon it instead, causing one individual to hunt down and sneak into Treasure Island. Everything seemed fine at first, except for some still swaying meat hooks and running water. There was some text on the walls that said "Abandoned by Disney" on it, but nothing too odd. The urban adventurer finds a costume room called Character Prep 1 deep within the park, and for some reason, its only door that locks. He was just going to walk away until the door seemingly opens on its own. On the ground laid multiple costumes of different characters, but the one thing that stood out the most was a photo negative Mickey Mouse suit. When he was about to leave the room, he quickly turned around to see the suit standing on its own. It asked him, "Want to see my head come off?" As yellow, chunky blood pours from its neck. The man ran out of there as fast as he could, but on the way out he noticed the same text he saw at the entrance had changed to "Abandoned by God."
Room Zero. Now let's talk about the sequel to Abandoned by Disney, Room Zero. The same explorer who ventured through Mowgli's palace is still the main star. He's been witnessing and receiving signs from Disney. There's no going back for them since the original was spread so much. But there's no going back for the explorer either. However, other stories have been rising up. He's been listening to as many as possible, including the story of Room Zero. Someone who used to work at Disney had to witness a gascot, which were Disney mascots but with gas masks put around the face. He met a girl named Ida, who was working for Disney for years now. Room Zero was a secret location in the park, much like some other places, but this one was different. Why's that? Its story, of course. Room Zero was a bomb shelter made to protect visitors if the park was ever attacked. The gascots got their masks from actual Mickey Mouse-inspired gas masks, which were used to help children remain calm in a situation. One day, the bomb siren went off for seemingly no reason, but people still were rushed to the shelter. Everyone put their jolly masks on and hid inside the area. It was quiet for about half an hour. Then one man shouted, "Hey, quit pitching!" A shout became a cry, the cry became a scream, which all led to panic and mayhem. Some employees and customers decided to deal with the war instead of the panic, so they escaped only to find an untouched park. Ida was one of these people, and she decided to go back down below. The screams were gone, and all was silent. She heard one echoey voice from the chamber say, "Shut the door, dear. You're letting the cold out."
Corruptus. This story, which the sequel to Room Zero, has our main character receiving an email with the subject name Corruptus. This main character was the same guy who went to Mowgli's palace. It's been 2 years since he first uploaded his experience on the web. He's been followed and stalked by groups of people for just as long as well. Through malls, in libraries, and so many more places, they were all taking notes of everything he was doing. At least that's what he thought. What was actually on the clipboards were gibberish and random Mickey Mouse doodles. He knows Disney is trying to keep him silent and lock him away. Back to the email. He was able to print it out before he was taken off the grid. He even made copies at the local library. The email contained a list of multiple incidents at the Magic Park, from Mowgli's Palace to Room Zero to Treasure Island and even River Country. He finds out that Corruptus represents corruption and is referring to the corrupted. The suits we mentioned earlier, the gas mascots from Room Zero, are all corrupted by some dark entity, and how he was wrong about Disney. They were actually trying to contain the corrupted.
The old Disney home. In one neighborhood, there was a couple who was obsessed with Disney, to the point where that's all they talk about. Mickey this, Donald that. It got so bad that they were kicked out of another person's home for that exact reason. The same people who let them out died later that week. Eventually, the couple moved, but they apparently left a lot of stuff in their house. Our main character loved Pinocchio, and heard that they left a lifelike Pinocchio doll in their old home. After hearing about others taking from the home, he made a plan of attack and snuck into the house. There were lots of Disney figures, toys, and more scattered all over, and some had strange white slime on them. He found the doll and was about to take it, but it looked at him and said, "Welcome to the House of Disney," over and over, except for the last thing it said before the man ran off. And it was, "Welcome to the House of Hell."
Working at Disney. One guy ends up working after hours at the famous Disney World, Florida. Along with multiple other employees, they clean most of the theme park so that the magic of Disney isn't ruined during the day. Lunch break came during a certain assignment with a 5-person group. However, our guy forgets his lunch and runs back to get it. On the way, he gets lost. He sees a strange light in the distance and decides to investigate. He thought he was going to experience his own ghost story, but instead he finds something much worse. A large open space with a stone slab in the center. 6 people in suits were surrounding it, 5 with candles, and 1 reading strange text. A girl dressed as Snow White was tied up. When the main character finishes the text, the rest grab daggers and cut parts of her body. From her arms, legs to forehead. It almost seemed like a cult broke into the park. This is where the written ran away from the scene. He left for 3 days and returned to his job. One of his co-workers who worked at the park for years then decided to explain what he had just witnessed. Let's just say, there's a sad reason why this is the happiest place on earth.
Grad night in the Haunted Mansion. June 4th, 1983. One lucky school was given the opportunity to go visit the famous Walt Disneyland for grad night. A few of these visitors got reckless, yet excited about the idea of staying the night at the Haunted Mansion. When they finally made it in, things got eerily quiet. It was quite concerning for Mike, Karen, and our protagonist. Hoping to find someone, they went inside a cast members only room. After this, it was a strange event after strange event. Our main character was separated from Mike and Karen. Other things started happening, from animatronic ghosts, lights, and music turning on and off with a strange figure. Eventually, he woke up outside of the mansion where Karen greeted him with relief. But there was one problem. Mike was nowhere to be found. Let's just say, some things were meant to stay backstage, even in Disney.
The River Country film. Disney's River Country is a popular attraction at Disneyland. Opened its doors all the way back in 1976. A family with kids used to go there all the time before the recession hit. When this family finally had some money again, they decided to return to Disneyland. However, the now teenage son finds out that River Country had closed its doors in 2001. He decided to go to a local library to see if he could find some archived footage of the attraction. He was curious to find out what happened to River Country and why it had to close its doors. Eventually, he found what he was looking for and finally took a look at the footage. In the video, a few men snuck inside after hours and decided to explore the location. One of the men was pushed down a slide by his friend. This is where things started to get a little unnerving for the men. The one who went down the stairs had his head down. He slowly itched it up to reveal crimson dried blood was all over his mouth and all of the hair on his head was gone. Even worse, patches of his skin were missing from his body. The man then muttered something along the lines of, "There is no hope under the water." The footage ends, but not before a black screen comes on and reads the text, The epidemic begins today.
Suicide Mouse Dot Avi. This one may be a bit predictable, but I personally feel like Suicide Mouse is one of the best creepypastas based on Disney. And why is that? Because unlike most of the stories on this list, this one predates the term creepypasta. It was originally an urban legend about a black and white Mickey Mouse short called Mickey Goes to Hell. While there is no evidence to say if the short was real or not, it's still fun to think about. But we're not talking about the urban legends. We're talking about the creepypasta that was made. The lost episode in question features a distraught Mickey walking down a nearly endless sidewalk with random piano keys heard in the background. After 3 minutes, everything went black for about another 3 minutes. Then the video comes back, but now Mickey is smiling. The piano keys are now replaced by screams as the video becomes more and more distorted. The video ends with Mickey's iconic face on the screen, signifying the end of the short, and Russian text that translates to, "The sights of hell bring its viewers back in." The story, however, ends with a Disney employee who examined the video stumbling out of the room and mumbling, "True suffering is not known. True 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 suffering is not." Before we go, I'd like to thank my friend Lazy Creepypasta for helping me with this list. You should definitely check him out with the link in the description down below, or the bubble thing card that's most likely on screen. Look, this is going to be my first time using the cards. I'm not used to this thing yet. But I can almost guarantee it would be on screen, and if not, it will be in the link in the description. I recommend subscribing to his channel if you love creepypastas. And once again, Lazy Creepypasta, thank you for helping me with this. Anyway, if you enjoyed the video, make sure to like, maybe favorite, and subscribe if you'd like to see some more. And thank you for staying the night at Hotel Room 103.